What's up, YouTube? Home Slice is back. I'm Brad. That's Travis.
That's me.
And we're doing another comparison video of some overstable drivers. What are we looking at?
I've got a Discmania PD2 Chaos.
Oh, snap. And I've got the Lat 64 Scythe. Alright, the PD2 and the Scythe. As far as their rims, they're kind of similar. You can see here, the PD2 is pretty flat the whole way. It's got a little bit of that slope at the end, but the Scythe is definitely a lot more pronounced. You can see it way easier there. But they're both pretty comfortable. The rims aren't crazy wide. For a 12-speed, they feel pretty normal. Dominess. The PD2 is a little bit more domey, but neither of them are pop tops or anything like that. First, we have the PD2, and it was very stable, but it was pretty glidey. It wasn't too much of a hog. I was getting some pretty decent distance with them. The G-Star or G-Line was a little bit lighter, so you could get a little bit... I was getting a little bit more distance with that one. The P-Line, if you put it on an Annie, well, either of them, if you put it on an Annie, it would hold it, and then at the very end, it would fight out, so you can get some really nice distance. I wasn't hyzer flipping them, but on a hyzer, it just held it that whole way. Flat, it would ride pretty flat the whole way, and then it would just start to hyzer out at the end. As far as a thumber, it really did not work as well as I thought that it was going to. It didn't hold that pan nearly as long as what I was expecting. The Scythe was definitely more stable than the PD2. I wasn't getting nearly the same distance. It was still getting out there. I mean, it wasn't unusable, but noticeably more stable than the PD2. If you threw it on a hyzer, you could see there it wasn't going to flip up for me. You could use it as a skip disc. It would definitely work well for that. If you threw it on an Annie, you can see here, it doesn't really hold it that long. Obviously I fell, so I didn't get a great pull, but the other times that we threw it, it didn't hold it for very long. As a thumber, it didn't work nearly as well as I thought it was going to. It didn't hold that pan at all. So if you were using it for distance, you're not going to get great distance with it.
First up is the Discmania PD2. Very great disc, feels good in the hand. A little bit more understable than the Scythe, so when you throw it on an Anheuser, it just rides. This was a long bomber for me. Threw it on a hyzer, it just held the hyzer. Threw it flat, it would pan right and left. And if you threw it on an Annie, gave it some height, it would end up flexing out, but it would get really far. You can see that was like a 400-foot pull there. I was throwing pretty well that day. I was nice and warm, and it was getting really good releases. I mean, this is a great long-distance disc. I can see why the pros love this for their long-distance drivers. Really dependable fade at the end. It never really turned and like burned on me at all. Into a headwind, it would get a little squirrely, but it was always fading back. Forehand, as you can tell, ripped it hard. It just pans left, fades hard at the end. Great all-around distance driver. The Latitude 64 Scythe. Backhand, definitely more stable. Into a headwind, it's going to turn a little bit, but it's going to dump. Great. I mean, it still gets out there. It's got great glide, but it's definitely more stable and more dependable. Both plastics, I didn't really tell much of a difference myself. Hyzer, it's going to hold a hyzer. Flat, it might turn a little bit into a headwind and fade. Anheuser, it didn't seem to get the distance that PD2 did. For some reason, it just wanted to fade. I mean, it doesn't have the glide. but it definitely has the dependability. And like Brad said, skip shot city. This thing will skip for days. Low ceiling shots to get the skip left, it will. Forehand, I already talked about it. I like it. It releases great out of my hand. On a hyzer, it holds a hyzer. Flat, it'll turn a little bit and fade. It's just a really workable forehand disc for me. On to the recap. Okay.
Yes.
What disc did you choose?
Ooh, that was real quick and right to the point. I like the PD2.
I like short videos too. Oh, how? That was a deep tissue burn there.
Whoa. I like the PD2 a little bit better. It felt better in my hand. It was definitely reliable. It always faded out. We were thrown into some decent headwind, and it was still fading out, and I was still getting good distance. This is something that right now for that shot, I have a really beat-in Fusion Giant, but if I were to lose that, it's going to take a while for me to get a Giant to that spot. And
he's a noob. It's a tournament Giant, not a Fusion noob.
This could definitely replace that. I liked it. What did you choose?
I'm getting roasted. I picked the PD2 too. The only thing I have to say is it's kind of hard to pick between these two discs because this had so much more glide. This was more of a distance driver, where the Scythe was more of a point and shoot hyzer disc. Like it was dependable fade every time. Where long distance shots, PD2 was great. I'm not bagging it though. Sorry. I have a lightweight enforcer in my bag right now that acts exactly like the PD2. It acts just like the PD2, and so I'm not going to bag it, but I will say if I ever lose the lightweight enforcer, there might be a chance I pull this out of the home slice stock because these things fly great. Scythe, for anyone, it's great. It really is. It's depending on what you want. If you're a primary forehand player, the Scythe's great because it's dependable. PD2, if you can rip 400 feet, this PD2 is going to fly for you.
If you're throwing either one of them for a distance overhand shot, I wouldn't. I would not recommend it for either of those. It doesn't get that.
About that.
Yeah, I was too. It just, for as overstable as it was, it didn't hold that swoop for very long. That little pan just kind of flipped over quick. So you're not going to get as much distance out of it. I was still getting decent distance, but not something I would recommend for that shot. Like, comment, subscribe. You have anything else? Looks like you're about to say something.
Did we talk about Instagram?
Like us on Instagram. Check us out on Instagram. Like, comment, subscribe. See you later.